Oh my gosh. I just realized the volume is not working, huh? Oh, here we go. Well, yeah, here we go, folks. Well, this is what happens in the new year. I guess we'll get after it yet again. Let me repeat everything I just said for the last minute and a half. I won't repeat everything. Hello. I am Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. I do apologize for that. Boy, that's such a mess. Yeah, there I am here, Mike. Yeah, and Henry. Sorry, everybody. This is how it goes. Now, I could go and redo the show. I'll worry about that post. Okay, let's get back to it. Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. And gosh, I was just thinking about this too. And here I fall into the same trap. Do you notice that everything you do in life requires like you to be vigilant? Like nothing ever goes smoothly. Like everything takes a second or third try. You can't order something from here. You can't buy something from there. You can't contact someone for this. And Doofus Ray can't even get the microphone working right. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that, everybody. I am Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. Sorry about that. Happy New Year to you all. Hope you had a good time celebrating. Hope you were safe and had a good time. You saw the ball drop. I did that too. I don't know if I mentioned that where you could hear it or not, but I did make it up till midnight. I am Ray Flowers of fantasyguru.com. I'm here with you Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday. Justin Fensterman is here with you on Wednesdays. I'm usually on with Jeff Mans on the Elite Sports Show on Wednesdays, 3 to 6 p.m. Eastern time on SiriusXM Fantasy Sports Radio. So check that all out. It's week 18 of the football season. Let's jump on the screen here since I screwed up what I was saying. Let's just throw it up on the screen what we're talking about today. We're talking a lot of week 18. I know that not everyone is playing week 18. I know most people in seasonal formats aren't playing week 18, but that doesn't mean you can't play DFS. You can't place bets. Doesn't mean you're not going to be watching the games. So we're going to continue to cover fantasy football this week, and we'll continue to cover it moving forward here. We will start to transition starting next week a little bit to baseball. Not much. We'll still do football and baseball. I know baseball is great. It's my favorite and all of that, and people are starting to get excited about that. I've had people ask me when leagues are starting and all this kind of stuff, so I love seeing that excitement. But it's still football time, so we'll still continue to talk football. I'll spend some time here before we visit with Tyler Beaker in about 25 minutes, talking some of the major storylines of week number 18 in the NFL. We'll have Tyler on. He'll continue that discussion about some of the major storylines as well. So football and baseball, and who knows? This is the kind of dead period of the year coming up where I know Justin on Wednesdays talks hoops. He'll probably continue to do that, I would imagine. That's kind of his thing. But maybe we'll get some of the other guys on staff on. We'll talk a little bit of maybe basketball. Maybe we'll talk a little bit of hockey. We haven't done that much here on the show, but we do cover hockey over at fantasyguru.com. Speaking of that, if you click the subscribe tab in the top right corner of the page, you can get to everything that we got to offer, and it's a lot. And if you click on that subscribe tab at fantasyguru.com, it brings up the MVP plan, and that's where you get your basketball and your hockey. You also get horse racing, Soppy White. You get NASCAR. You get PGA, MMA, college basketball. All of that is under the MVP plan. So basically everything that isn't football or baseball, sign up, fantasyguru.com, subscribe tab, top right corner, and click on the MVP plan. The football plan is still available right now. I know you might be saying, oh, the season's over in a couple of days, Ray. This is ridiculous. Yeah, it is. But that doesn't mean you can't still cover, as we will, football. You still can't play fantasy football as you should be doing in some form, whether it's wagering, whether it's doing a one-and-done playoff scenario, whether it's playing DFS. Maybe you've always thought to yourself, I'd love to get involved with DFS. I've never done it. Yeah, well, maybe it's not the right time to do it. Check it out. Sign up with us at fantasyguru.com. Just see what it's like to the playoffs. Support@fantasyguru.com is the email. Send an email to support@fantasyguru.com to tell them you're ready to do this when it comes to playing fantasy football in 2024/5, because we're already into 2025. Now, before we talk football, remember, and this is on the screen again, for those of you watching live on youtube.com/@ElitePlusNetwork or live on Facebook at facebook.com/FantasyGuruHQ. Both of those spots, remember, I'm making a note here of the silence. Both of those spots on YouTube and on Facebook, you can watch live, you can listen live, and you can leave comments live. Like today when all of you were telling me, Ray, you're an idiot, you're not being heard. There you go. So Facebook and YouTube, those two spots, you can leave comments and questions that we'll actually address throughout the show. One final topic before we get into the show of the week. You can see it there on the screen. I've been tweeting it out. We've been tweeting it out at fantasyguru.com. At the Ray Flowers is where you can find me on all those social media places. The draft guide drops on January 6th. Next week, we'll talk much more deeply about what we have to offer for the fantasy baseball products in 2025. The fantasy baseball product is live on Monday, but you can purchase it now. You want to get a head start? You want to get involved? You want to get in there? You want to look at everything that we did last year? Sign up right now at fantasyguru.com. You get the all-in package, which gets you seasonal, DFS, and wagering. You can do that if you want. You can get all three of them. You can get the daily only. You can get the betting only. You can get the seasonal only. The seasonal package drops on the Monday, January 6th next week, just a few days away. And again, we'll talk more about that on the show. For those people that haven't been involved with those for baseball previously, I am the main baseball writer for fantasyguru.com. I do seasonal baseball on a daily basis. I do DFS on an almost daily basis. I do wagering on an almost daily basis. And we'll get more into the schedules and everything like that once we get closer to the season. It's not the right time now. But the bottom line is I'm involved with all three of those things. So if you like my work and the show here and all that, maybe you want to get involved there. You can see the link on the screen, fantasyguru.com/product/MLB-memberships, fantasyguru.com/product/MLB-memberships, or you can just make it simple. Go to fantasyguru.com, click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. All right, let's get on to it here. What are we talking about today? 4 is the number of times that Shohei Ohtani was caught stealing last year. 4. He stole 59 bases for those of you that didn't see it. He got caught 4 times. Rather remarkable. 4 also happens to be the number of days before the draft guide drops. Yeah, you like that? Yeah, there you go. We're doing it over at fantasyguru.com right now, starting on Monday. Yeah, I know. Now I'm getting, everyone's telling me I was muted. My guys, Jeff Mans, Phil Backer, Ted Schuster, Sandra Nell, everyone letting me know. We're back rocking and rolling now. If you can't hear me now, we got a bigger problem than that. So hopefully that's not the case at the moment. All right, so let's talk a little bit about what's going on here in Week 18. We got teams resting players. Now, there's no way around this in sports. There's not. This happens in all sports, right? As teams prepare for the payoffs, as other teams shut guys down that are beat up. But it's really pronounced in football. Like you play 162 games in baseball, you play 82 games in hockey or basketball. Missing a game or two, In football, when you play 17 games, missing a game is a big deal. That's like missing 10 games in baseball. It's a big deal. It's like going on the injured list, right? It's a big deal. So I don't think there's a way to really get around that. Just a mess. That's where we're at in Week 18. Now, as Jeff Mans has repeatedly said, and I've seen him fighting with people, not really fighting, arguing with people on social media, this happens every week of the season in football. This happens every week in every sport. And I talked about this earlier this week. I think it was on Monday, where we sat here and said, look, guys miss games all the time. It's not nothing new. And people complain about, this team's resting player. Yeah, well, players get rested all the time. As Jeff has pointed out, a team will have a guy. They have a bye this week, and they will or bye next week. So what do? They rest him this week. Could he play this week if it was Week 18 and the season was on the line? Would that player be playing this week? Absolutely. But because they got a bye next week, they just rest him. It's annoying in Week 4, but you let it go. It's annoying in Week 6, but you let it go. People don't let it go in Week 18. Same thing. You've dealt with the exact same scenario this season on your fantasy squad, I'm willing to bet. But because it's Week 18, people don't want to play. I'm not going to relitigate that here. We've already talked about that. What we do need to know is the Rams, the Chiefs, and the Eagles in particular, we already know we're going to be resting players. In the case of the Rams, we're getting Jimmy Garoppolo. We're going to get a lot of Blake Corum. Blake Corum's finally going to pay off for those people that rostered him this year. We know that's going to be the case. Jimmy Garoppolo is obviously a professional football player, a very solid football player. He's not Matthew Stafford, but at this point in their careers, so Blake Corum's not Kyron Williams yet, but so I don't anticipate the Rams, scoring 3 points and shutting it down, though the Rams offense has slowed the last couple of weeks anyway. So it's not a scenario where we're excited about the Rams. In the case of the Chiefs, we're getting Carson Wentz, another veteran NFL quarterback. At one point in time, a near MVP player in the NFL. He'll get a chance to run the Chiefs offense. The Chiefs are probably going to rest Pacheco and Hunt and all these guys. So the Chiefs offense is going to be relying on some deeper plays. Now, remember, we've talked about this too. You can only rest so many players. Like teams don't have 18 offensive linemen. Like they're not resting all their offensive linemen. Travis Kelce may not play a lot of snaps. Cool. Noah Gray's going to play a lot of snaps, right? Someone has to be in the backfield. Maybe it's Sanjay P. Ryan. Maybe Carson Steele gets 10 carries this week. They're still going to run the football, right? So players still have to fill roles. It's not as easy as just where this guy's getting benched, so we're avoiding a team in total. That's not the case. Now, the situation with the Eagles is really, it's sad. It's depressing. It's annoying, whatever adjective you want to use. Jeff Mans and I talked about this on the show on Tuesday. And we had a little back and forth about what is this team going to do with Saquon Barkley? Saquon Barkley, 101 yards away from the all-time rushing touchdown. Also all-time rushing yardage mark, held by Eric Dickerson. And Jeff and I went back and forth and said, look, is he going to do it? Are they going to do it? I posited we're going to give him 10 touches, and we're going to see how it goes. And if it's 10 carries for 19 yards, well, we'll shut him down. If it's 10 carries for 69 yards, let's get that record, right? Jeff said, if I'm the coach of this team, he's got to get the record. Why? Because we want to go into the playoffs on a high note. We want to have the success of our entire offensive line rewarded, because though Barkley goes in the record books, it's obviously the offensive line and the team that's gotten him there, right? It gives the team something to pull for. It gets the team, fired up and heading into the playoffs on a high note. We're hearing the Eagles are going to rest their guys. So I don't know if Devonta Smith's going to play much. I don't know if A.J. Brown's going to play much. They're missing practice. We're hearing that Jalen Hurts probably isn't going to play with the head injury. And we're hearing that Saquon Barkley's not going to play. So, these things can change. And we'll, of course, follow the information here and over at fantasyguru.com if it does. But Saquon Barkley doesn't sound like he's going to get a chance. This is – and people will say, well, we don't want to get the guy hurt. Totally get that. Totally get that. If you play sports scared, if you live life scared, you don't win. What's our motto at fantasyguru.com? What does Jeff say all the time? Winners win. Winners don't rest players. And especially in a scenario like I'm really interested with the Chiefs, and here we go. We'll find out how this goes. You rest players this week. You have a bye next week. Guys go 3 weeks without playing. If you're hurt, makes sense. If you're not really hurt, that's a long time to not play football and then just have to immediately turn it back on. Remember, you got to go. You got to go and play one in the playoffs. You can't work into a game and figure it out at halftime. So I don't know. We'll figure this out. I wish that the Eagles would have done things differently with Barkley. Obviously, they're not going to, so we'll have to move on from that in fantasy football. All right, let's talk a little bit about some broader issue things. Let's talk about the Niners. Niners have a ton of things going on here. Isaac Arendo's got that foot injury that I don't think is really an injury at this point, at least, and the hamstring injury. The hamstring is real, but he played last week. He's very likely to play this week. He was a full participant in practice yesterday. So look at him as good to go. As we have continually said here, as we continually said in articles over at fantasyguru.com, my matchup article is up right now, looking at all 32 games or 32 teams this weekend. It's already it just went up this morning. My coffin corner piece will go up tomorrow. Arendo's is going to get all the work from the halfbacks. We'll see Kyle Juszczyk get a couple of touches, but Isaac Arendo's going to get all the work in the backfield. Now, the offense is going to be different this week because Brock Purdy's out with the elbow issue. We were hoping earlier this week that he'd be able to play through that. The Niners, I don't think Brock Purdy's hurt. They're just playing it safe, right? So Josh Dobbs is going to start. We got that information finally. Joshua Dobbs is going to start. And Dobbs is obviously an athletic guy. There were moments last year where he had some nice games for the Vikings. He'll be able to lead this offense effectively, and he will have Isaac Arendo to help him out on the running side of things. In terms of pass catching, now we're starting to get a little dicey with the Niners. Ricky Pearsall's got an illness and a chest issue. He's expected to play at this point, coming off that big 140-yard touchdown effort for him, which was his best game of the season. Expected to play. Continue to watch the practice reports. Deebo Samuel's got the rib injury and the wrist issue. Didn't practice yesterday. Too early in the week to know whether he's going to give it a go or not. Given everything that's gone with Deebo Samuel, I could see him playing. I could see him sitting. I just really don't know. So we'll have to continue to monitor that one. Who the hell knows? George Kittle's got an ankle and a hamstring injury. George Kittle has been a warrior this season for the Niners. He's been fantastic in the fantasy space. Will he play this week? We don't know. So the Niners have nothing to play for. They're on the other end of this, right? There's the Eagles at the top resting guys and the Chiefs. Then the Niners at the other side of things, taking guys out, resting guys, not playing guys because their season's basically over. Pearsall, Samuel, and Kittle. It's Thursday morning. Okay, so we got plenty of time to figure this out for those of you that are playing. placing bets, doing DFS, still playing seasonal. We got plenty of times to figure this out. We are available over at fantasyguru.com in the Discord room. If you sign up for any package, remember, go to subscribe tab in the top right corner. If you subscribe to any package you with us at fantasyguru.com for any of the sports, you get access to that chat room for that sport. So we're answering questions in all the rooms right now, including Dynasty. Russell Clay will be on the show tomorrow to talk a little bit future thinking with football players. But right now, we just don't know what the Niners will have to continue to monitor that. Aaron Jones has got a quad issue. It sounds like he's going to be able to play through that. That's significant because obviously the Vikings and the Lions, we'll talk to Tyler Beaker in about 10 minutes about this game. Obviously, that game is the number one game in fantasy. By the way, I got this for Christmas. I'm holding it up on the screen here. It's the 2024 Topps Holiday Mega Box. Anyone care if we open this up? Should we open some packs up tomorrow on the show? It's only 10 packs. I guess it's like a $50, $40 box, something like that. You get one autograph card in the box. You either get a player-worn holiday hat relic or an autograph relic. Look for player-worn holiday hat relics. Look at that. You could get a Bobby Witt, part of a Santa hat, I guess. Armando Marsal is jumping in. He's saying we should do this tomorrow. So maybe we'll do this. Let's see here. I've already opened up like 5 of the packs. Let's see. How many packs? And by the way, I love this box. This box is huge, and then it's got this fold-over thing. It's 10 packs. And I was telling my nephew, who's 15, when we were kids, we got boxes with 36 packs. He thought that was the craziest thing he'd ever heard because now boxes are like 8 or 10 packs. We got 6 packs left. So should we open it on the show tomorrow? 6 packs left. Should we open one? Should we? Oh, I think I got it. Let me verify. We have 6 packs left. So we'll open one tomorrow, and then we'll open one every day next week. Oh, I've stepped on here on Wednesdays. We'll open one tomorrow and 2 on Monday to celebrate the draft guide. How about that? We'll do that. We'll go through it. There you go. I already got the autographed. I didn't get the autograph card. I already got the game-worn jersey card. I will share that with you tomorrow. Let's just say if I got it 12 months ago, I'd be a little bit happier than I am now. No, it's really cool to get a card with a jersey. I mean, come on, that's cool. Okay, we'll do that moving forward. Make a note here, Ray. Cards. Okay. Back to Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is likely to play this week for the Vikings. He's got oh, by the way, let me show this real quick. I can show one thing today. So part of the box, it's a holiday box, right? So there you can see on the screen, Jackson Holiday 2024 Topps Holiday Mega Baseball Ornament Card. So there's a hole at the top. You could actually hang it. You can see it there on my forehead. It's probably about the thickness of a baseball card, maybe 2/3 the thickness of a baseball card. It's a little thin. Hey, ho, 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 Jackson Holiday of the Orioles. Look at that. It's a little refractor-ish action. I don't know if I'll actually hang it on the tree or not, but that's what came in. That's a free bonus if you get the box. Back to Aaron Jones for the 3rd time now. Aaron Jones has the quad injury. Aaron Jones will be back on the bump, as they say in baseball. He'll be back in the fold, probably a better way to say it for football, this weekend. I can't imagine him not playing this weekend with the quad injury. He was limited at practice yesterday. Obviously, there's tons to play for the Vikings and the Lions. Division champion, home field advantage throughout the playoffs, and at least throughout the NFC playoffs, excuse me. We don't know about the Chiefs yet. So Aaron Jones very likely to play, and he's a significant piece of what they need to do on offense, of course. Bucky Irving, again, a team that's looking to win a game to make the playoffs here with the Bucs. He was limited at practice, was Bucky Irving. There's no reason to think that the shin/shoulder injuries that he's been dealing with are going to preclude him from playing. NFC South titles on the line, all hands on deck. Sean Tucker has seen his role regress here the last couple of weeks. And frankly, Rachaad White, his touch count's gone down too as the team has started to lean more heavily on Bucky Irving. And this makes sense. It's a change and evolution that we all thought would happen earlier in the season because, again, Bucky Irving from the start was the better running back, straight running back than Rachaad White, who really should be more of a 3rd down back. But Bucky Irving's going to play this week. Fire him up as a running back 1 in the game that the Bucs are obviously pushing extremely hard to win. Terry McLaurin didn't practice yesterday. Got an ankle issue. Was also called rest on the report. So a little bit of this and that. The Commanders have made the playoffs. They can improve their a spot, right? They can either be 6 or 7. it doesn't really matter. Just make the playoffs, right? But again, number one, you want to go into the playoffs on a high note. Number two, if you play scared, worried about injuries, I think you've lost anyway. This is football. You're going to get hurt. It's just how it is. I don't think you play the game that way. And number three, as we talked about earlier this week with Terry McLaurin, he got one ball for 5 yards. Catastrophic fantasy fail in the championships. One catch for 5 yards. Season has been tremendous. Yet again, 1,000 yards, double-digit touchdowns. Tremendous season. You can't have him going into the playoffs on a one-catch 5-yard game. Like, that's just not, it's not good, right? So I would anticipate McLaurin playing for the Commanders. I think they try to establish him. Does that mean he plays a full 4 quarters and just goes balls to the wall? I don't know that. But I would anticipate him playing a significant role in this offense. So we'll continue to watch this and see what the news tells us about the health of players and all that. But I'm feeling pretty confident right now with Terry McLaurin. T. Higgins has got the knee and the ankle issue. You never know with T. Higgins. I mean, that's just face the facts. You never know. But he and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase, no one wants to face that. The Bengals absolutely have to win their game against the Steelers to make the playoffs. They have to have other things happen too, but they've got to win that football game. T. Higgins is playing. T. Higgins is also playing for a massive contract. Remember that. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year, and he wants one of these big $140 million contracts. He doesn't want to get a 2-year, $30 million deal. Like, he wants to break a bank here. And he's had some massive games this season. Joe Burrow and company shredding teams through the air. T. Higgins is going to play this week. Now, Chase Brown is still – he didn't practice yesterday with the ankle issue. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't give it a go. Again, their season's on the line. I'd be very surprised if he doesn't give it a go. Now, I don't know for Brown if that means, it's the James Conner scenario. We'll talk about Conner here in a sec. If it's the James Conner scenario where it's like he plays and he gets 5 touches and it's like, oh, crap, he can't go. So Brown is a difficult guy to have confidence in at this point of the week because of the ankle issue. Some people are still playing in seasonal for fantasy football. Khalil Herbert is obviously a must-get, as we have seen continually this year out of the backfield with the Bengals. They're favoring the one running back approach. I think, Williams and Herbert will probably share some work here in the backfield if indeed Brown was out. But Herbert is almost certain to lead the way. Herbert's a very solid football player. He can catch a ball. He's obviously good on the ground. And this team does so much through the air to, pressure opponents that there's always going to be opportunities on the ground. So Khalil Herbert, if you're playing still, and if you're playing DFS, we'll get closer to this, right? Where does Khalil Herbert fit in? But Khalil Herbert's an ad right now in the fantasy space. Speaking of running backs, Jaylen Warren's got a rib issue. There was some people were a little concerned when the week started. Hey, man, it's the final week of the regular season. Here we go. Right, this is how we go. The Steelers can still win the NFC North if they win and Baltimore loses, right? So the Steelers aren't going to shut this thing down. The last couple of weeks, Jaylen Warren has taken over the backfield. He's relegated Najee Harris to support role. They've kind of flip-flopped the roles, and we've talked about that how that's changed the last couple of weeks here on the show. Let's pull up the Steelers as we're talking here because I know that was in my piece. Let's get the data real quick. Steelers. Blue. I'm hitting the wrong button. Here we go. The Steelers backfield situation. The last 3 games, Najee Harris has 31 touches. Warren has 38. And Warren's played 100 snaps, and Harris only played 64. So significant difference in terms of their being on the field. Some of that has to do with game flow, because obviously Warren's the 2-minute back, the guy that they turn to on third downs, the guy they turn to when they're behind. So they do fill different roles. So the snap count, that's a little variable. I'm not locked in saying that that's exactly how it's going to play this week. But I think it's pretty fair bet that Najee Harris will have fewer touches this week than Jaylen Warren, provided Warren can play through his rib injury, fully expected at this point. Loudon McConkey's got the toe injury. He did not practice yesterday. The Chargers, do they play him? Yeah, they're going to play him. I mean, they can, if he's truly hurt, they don't. And I guess that's an issue with Loudon McConkey because he's been in and out of that blue tent a lot this year. But the Chargers can move up. If they win and the Steelers lose, they can change playoff seeding. I think they'd like to do that. Again, you don't want to go into the playoffs on a down note regardless, especially the Chargers. So Loudon McConkey, I would anticipate some limited practice here the next day or two, and I would anticipate him playing this week for the Chargers. Anthony Richardson may or may not play. They're holding out hope that he will play. Hearing Richardson speak, it seems like he's had back issues spasm-wise for a long time, for years. That there's a story out there that things were so bad for him last week that he couldn't walk. Like there was a day where he was crawling, like to the bathroom and stuff. If that's the case, and again, that's the reporting, is he going to play this weekend? I don't know. I think it's probably going to be Joe Flacco. So we'll see. Jacksonville is terrible anyway. So whoever's out there, whether it's Flacco or Richardson, is in play in the fantasy game. At this point in time, I think Richardson is trending not playing, but we'll wait and see. Tony Pollard is trending toward playing. Don't have that confirmation yet. Tajay Spears has got the head injury. He's not going to play this week. Chestnut's going to be involved. Pollard, though, if he can get out there through his ankle injury, probably is the lead back for the Titans. The Titans have already said they're going to play 2 quarterbacks this week, so it could get messy this week for the Titans on offense, but I think Tony Pollard at this point in time is trending toward playing. James Conner will not play this week for the Cardinals. So after last week's fiasco, he's out this week. We don't have to worry about him. Trey Benson's been placed on the injured list. He's out. We don't have to worry about him. So it's Michael Carter that's going to lead this backfield. At least that's the full assumption at this point in time. So Michael Carter becomes an intriguing play for those of you that are still involved. The Cardinals have nothing to play for other than their jobs. And that's kind of a big push. Injured reserve, Miles Sanders could be activated. He's been designated to return. And it's starting to sound like, Sanders going to play this week. And if he does, he might lead that backfield. Not Boone, not Blackshear. Miles Sanders might lead that backfield in touches and snaps this week. So that's a storyline no one's talking about right now. We'll have to watch the next couple of days. But Miles Sanders trending toward playing. Diontae Johnson will play for the Texans. I don't know what you're doing. I think you're trying to be too smart if you're playing Diontae Johnson in DFS. That's my opinion. He's only been with the team for a little bit here. Who knows where he's at? He hasn't been in the lineup forever. He's having problems They're trying to get him ready for the playoffs. And finally, Jaylen Waddle. We don't know exactly who's going to start at the quarterback position for the Miami Dolphins. It's looking like it's going to be Tyler Huntley. It seems like the hip issue is not going to allow Tua Tagovailoa to play. Huntley performed admirably last week. He really did for what he can do on the football field. He might have Jaylen Waddle on the field with him. He was limited in practice yesterday with the knee injury. Obviously, that's a huge boost to the offense if he's able to give it a go for the Dolphins. The Dolphins have to win, to have any shot at the playoffs, all that kind of stuff. So Jaylen Waddle looks like he's going to give it a go. We'll continue to follow that storyline. Even though Waddle's, have 3 good games this year, it just hasn't really happened for that Miami offense in certain respects. And if Tua's out, as we're kind of leaning toward at this point in time, it's still tough to get excited about Jaylen Waddle, even if he is active this week. All right, so this is Fantasy Sports Daily. I am Ray Flowers. Every Thursday on the show, we're visited by Tyler Beaker. Normally, we talk Thursday football with Tyler. We ain't got no Thursday football this week, which is probably a good thing because it's a variable success on those Thursday games. But we got a lot to talk about. And Tyler's involved with everything we do over at fantasyguru.com. Tomorrow night, he hosts a live stream for DFS. He's constantly posting bets and that portion, of what we do at fantasyguru.com. I am sure he's going to continue to write his matchup articles and everything here in the next couple of days, game flow articles in the next couple of days. Why don't we just ask him that? I'm assuming he's going to say the answer to that is yes. Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. How you doing, Tyler?
What's going on, Ray? The answer is yes. I will be doing our content as usual. You mentioned the DFS show on Friday. That'll still be going on. It's the final week of it. So week 18 DFS show, doing that live stream with Armando Marcel, 7 p.m. Eastern. Thursday, I've got another DFS column coming out later today talking about wide receivers to look at on the main slate. And then Saturday, that typical game script column where I go through game by game looking at matchups. And this one will be very, I want to say the word abbreviated, with about half the games not counting toward anything, the other half being very, very important. I love the way that the NFL put games in terms of the time slots for them, in terms of like matchups that are going head to head in terms of seeding for the postseason. They did a really good job with that, where it's really easy to poke fun at the NFL. We do it all the time. I want to give them their due credit there for at least scheduling things correctly.
Yeah, they screwed everything up royally last week, but this week they
Last
did a
week,
good
yes.
job. Yeah, this week they did a good job. I guess they're trying to. They're still in my book a minus for what they did last week, but yes, agree with you on this week. One of the big storylines, and everyone's talking about it. In fantasy, most people don't play week 18, and certainly in seasonal because of players resting. And we were talking earlier on the show today. The Chiefs, the Rams, the Eagles, all these teams resting players. Let's not talk about it from the fantasy perspective for a second. Let's talk about it from a football perspective for a second. I get why the Eagles aren't letting Saquon Barkley try to get the record. I get it, right? I get why the Chiefs are resting Patrick Mahomes. Totally get it. I understand these things. What's your thought on that? It's one thing to say, well, we're going to give a guy a week off and play next week. In the case of the Chiefs, that's 2 weeks off, where the guy's not going to be playing football if Patrick Mahomes doesn't play this week. So realistically, it's 3 weeks between games for him. Do you like the idea of teams doing this, or do you like the idea of teams getting players out there? And when I say getting out there, I don't mean letting them play 1 or 2 series, which often happens. You might as well just not play the guy if you're going to do that. What are your thoughts on NFL teams resting players?
I see nothing wrong with it, especially when we look at teams like the Eagles and the Chiefs specifically, who had early bye weeks. The Eagles a week 5 bye, the Chiefs a week 6 bye. It's been a very long time since they've been able to get some time off and rest these players. So the extra week for the Eagles, the 2 weeks for the Chiefs, by all means, I think they should take that time to rest, get healthy, prepare for the postseason in terms of their matchups. Yeah, I don't see anything wrong with it. I feel like it's almost been more of like a conversation that happens around radio shows that, like, is this worth it or not worth it? What are the pros and cons? Right. In my eyes, I just view it all as pros.
Because I think about it, and I haven't taken a vacation in 14 years, but when I remember you get back from your vacation, and there's a little bit, it might take an hour, might take you a day to kind of get back in the rhythm and the routine of doing things. And I'm a former athlete. I played sports and all that kind of stuff. And, the idea of not playing for 2-3 weeks when athletes are such creatures of habit, I don't know. I don't think it's, just because one team had struggles doing it and one team had success doing it, I don't think there's necessarily a study that you could lean on to say this is the way it's going to be, because everyone is different. But I do worry a little bit. It's like, don't do your job for 2 weeks. Now go. Now play the most important game of the season. You don't have any of those concerns.
No, not particularly.
Okay.
These are professionals. They're still practicing. They're just going through things in a limited fashion. But they've been doing this stuff for years. I don't think like a week or 2 off really negates any type of rhythm. Perhaps I'm wrong. I just don't view it that way.
Tyler Baker of fantasyguru.com. Speaking of the wagering thing, which you're so involved with, you and the crew over at fantasyguru.com, including me on the baseball side, we don't just splash 500 bets a week. Like, there are places that do that. We don't do that. Okay. So if there's a game or a matchup this week that you don't like, you're just not getting any action on it. That's fine. You're not looking, I've got to have a bet on every game. That's not how we do things at fantasyguru.com. Remember, click the subscribe tab in the top right corner if you want to get involved. Send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Send that email, support@fantasyguru.com. There's a game like the Giants and the Eagles. Now, normally, this is a slam dunk, revenge game. Eagles are going to destroy. It's going to be 41-7, right? Eagles are resting all their players. How do you handicap a game like this? Is this a game where you just, hey, Ray, no good, out? Like, is there anything you see here? There's too much uncertainty? Like, how would you handle that from a betting perspective?
Yeah, it's the Drew Lock versus Kenny Pickett show. Should be a very fun one. From a betting lens, it's simply a game I wouldn't touch. I agree with you where you don't have to bet every game. Like, we have the ability to just walk. And like, I like to look at a lot of betting trends. I like to look at historical performances. There aren't a ton of edges here in terms of what we typically look at. The total's already down to 37.5 in this game. It's been bet down quite a bit. I like what Angela just said, cranking up Neighbors. I agree with that. He has 104 catches. The current record for rookie receptions is 105, set by Puka last year. Brock Bowers currently at 108. So he is currently the poll leader with Neighbors 4 catches behind him. I'm thinking there's a chance they just pepper him with another double-digit target outing. And let's see, the Giants play in the 1 o'clock window. The Raiders play in the 4:25 Eastern window. So the Giants will have to try to almost put up a big buffer in terms of trying to create that lead for Neighbors to get that rookie record. Again, he only played 14 games so far this year. He missed 2 matchups. So kudos to him for just being super, super productive despite that quarterback turmoil that's going on with the Giants. But that's the only exciting thing I have from this matchup. Everything else is just kind of a stay away. You mentioned a lot of running backs right before I hopped on in terms of replacements coming in. I've been writing up my DFS wide receiver column, and it's really easy to pay up for a lot of these high-priced wide receivers this week for DFS, given how many replaceable running backs are coming in to take over for these starters. And the production and the workload at running back is one of the most predictable ones we can get. So I think it's a really fun week to play a little bit of DFS. I play light on week 18. Like, there's a lot of weird stuff that's going to happen. Teams could just totally quit halftime. We could see some weird things in terms of some scoreboard watching as well. So I just wanted to mention that. I don't know. I'm kind of riffing right here, but I think that there's something in terms of paying up at wideout and paying down at running back that makes a lot of sense from a DFS perspective to me this week.
Again, he's Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com. He'll be on that live stream tomorrow night. If you want to see that live stream, send a note to support@fantasyguru.com. Get signed up. And, you know, there's a discount. You can talk to Ted. He'll work something out with you. And remember, this is a good, like Tyler's saying, it's a good way to keep playing in week 18. It's a good way to see what we have as a product at fantasyguru.com. Maybe you didn't buy the product this year and you're wondering what it's all about. You can get in there and watch Tyler and Armando tomorrow night talking about things, get all the access to the articles throughout the playoffs. So check that out, support@fantasyguru.com. We don't know what the hell's going on with the Giants and the Eagles and who really cares. Situation is completely different from the last game of the day with the Lions and the Vikings. Obviously, everything on the line, the NFC's on the line in essence in this matchup. So let's talk about this one because there are oodles of players on both sides, tons of fantasy production to be had in this game most likely. Let's start on the Lions side of things. What's the Lions' path to victory here against the Vikings? It seems like everything the Lions do offensively, defense is, they're doing enough, but they're beat up. They've lost like 57 players on the defensive side. They've only lost David Montgomery on offense, and it's continued to go here. Sam Laporta's reestablished himself. Jameson Williams catching 5 passes every week. Jahmyr Gibbs. And what do they need to do? Just more of the same for the Lions?
Yeah, I think what they really need to do is control the clock here. We saw in that Niners game where they were just picking up chunks against them with relative ease. We saw big pass plays to George Kittle, big pass plays to Ricky Pearsall. Now they've got to do that against the likes of Justin Jefferson, Jordan Addison, TJ Hawkinson. It's a tough group to play defense against. If I were the Lions, what I would try to do is control the clock, limit possessions, and really take their time when they have the ball. Run the ball, dink and dunk with the pass game. Because we know this Vikings team can put up points in a hurry. They are great at passing the ball. They are number 3 in pass rate over expectation this season, throwing the ball at one of the heaviest rates. And this Lions defense, they play a lot of single high. They play a lot of man coverage. They just are ill-equipped to have that type of aggressive style of defensive play at this point in the season, given all the injuries that have just piled up defensively. They're down to some 3rd and 4th stringers. It's not pretty. And this is a very, very important game with it being the number 1 seed. They get the bye week. They get the additional time to prepare. They get home field advantage. I think it's going to be a very entertaining game. The last time these two teams played, it was a 2-point difference in terms of the score. I think it was 31-29. Don't quote me on that one, but it was very close. So I think I think this will be another very fun matchup to watch. I'm glad they made it the Sunday night football game where everyone gets to watch it.
Yep.
Unfortunately, it's not on the DraftKings main slate. It's FanDuel only. So maybe play some FanDuel this week instead of DK because this is a fun one to get your hands in on.
Tyler Beaker, fantasyguru.com. Yeah, and for those of you that don't play DFS, they do this in baseball too. It's so infuriating. Just play the same thing. They I don't know if it's because they want to be different or there's often slates that are different. So glad Tyler pointed that out there. On the Vikings side of things, I mean, I was looking at the numbers. Not many receivers in the history of football have had more success against the team than Justin Jefferson against the Lions. It's kind of like Derrick Henry against the Jaguars, right? Like there are just some matchups where these guys, Justin Jefferson, I'm looking at, he's got 1,100 yards and 69 catches in like 9 games. Like just lights them up. Now he lights a lot of teams up, so that's not. And this is different. What happened 3 years ago is not the Lions team this year. Okay. Is this a game where we're going to get that light up, blow up Justin Jefferson? Because every week it's 7 for 75, 7 for 90 and a touchdown. He's had a couple of games this year which are really ceiling games. Is this going to be a ceiling game for him this week, or is it going to be Jordan Addison, or is it going to be a lot of the ground attack for the Vikings against the Lions?
I believe it's everybody. I think the entire Vikings passing attack gets going here in this matchup. I mentioned how easily the Niners put up production against them. I think the Vikings are just going to put their foot on the gas pedal even further than the San Francisco team did. It's a good matchup against the man coverage on the outside. They shut down Carlton Davis, their cornerback one. He's on IR. They now have a starting rookie on the one side, Terrion Arnold, who's among the league's highest in most penalties. This guy just loves to grab. He is not great in coverage at this point in his career. And across from him, Amik Robertson, just a kind of a journeyman coming from the Raiders. I think these guys are very exploitable for Jefferson and Addison on the perimeter. I'm really bullish on both those guys. Ultimately, though, I think the best play is probably just to play a lot of Sam Darnold alts. I'm interested in like his 275 passing yard prop. Give me the 300, the 325, and the 350. I want to go all the way up. The last three QBs that have faced off against the Lions, I think they've all cleared 300 plus passing yards, and that's guys like Caleb Williams. I'm drawing a blank on the others. I looked this up like 3 days ago, so pardon me. So on the New Year's haze,
it was an old year. That was a year ago.
But the last three matchups, all three passers have cleared 300 passing yards against this Lions defense. I expect one of the most pass-heavy offenses to follow suit and do that as well.
I hope you're right, because I'm in a one-and-done league this year. It's a seasonal one-and-done league, and my quarterback this week is Sam Darnold. So hopefully you're right on it. Yeah.
Best of luck. Yeah, Naylor's a good pick too, Sean, who mentioned that in the chat. Jaylen Naylor. All these guys. That's why I just like Darnold as the blanket play. You get everybody, and we know that Darnold's willing to spread the ball around. So good matchup here. This should be a fun matchup.
Tyler Baker, fantasyguru.com. Bengals and Steelers on the surface. Is Bengals great offense, crappy defense? Steelers crappy offense, great defense. That's the general. Now, whether that's accurate or not, of course. But it seems like offense versus defense. It's kind of what this seems like. Bengals obviously have to win this game to make the playoffs. They have to have other things happen. The Steelers can still win their division if they win this game and the Ravens lose. So there's still a lot on the line here. Any keys to this game between the Bengals and Steelers you want to point out, Tyler?
This one's interesting because it's the Saturday evening game. The Saturday afternoon game is the Ravens, where they have a chance to take over the AFC North title against the Browns. They are, I think, a 14 or 17-point favorite in that matchup. If Baltimore wins that game, they win the AFC North title. So we're looking at wild card seeds for Pittsburgh here. They can get the number 5 seed with a win here, which I think is very important because the number 5 seed would have them playing against Houston. If they lose here, the number 6 seed would have them playing against Baltimore, a team they've already played twice, earlier this season. I think they like their chances against Houston a little bit more, so I think they'll be trying to go for the win here. Cincinnati, this is also their last chance to get in. They're 8-8 right now. They started the season losing 4 of their first 5. They made themselves this bed, and they kind of have to lie in it, unfortunately. In terms of like matchups, the last time these two teams played, it was 44-38. And in that game, 8 different Steelers had a catch of 20-plus yards. We saw Russell Wilson moonballing it all over the yard against Cincinnati in that game. I expect him to do that again here. Joe Burrow in that matchup had some uncharacteristic turnovers, 2 fumbles and an interception. Usually we don't see 3 turnovers from Burrow. So I think the key for the Bengals win here is simply not to turn the ball over because they can go punch for punch with this team offensively. Should be a fun one too. I think as far as an island game, this is going to be a good one to watch too.
What about the Chiefs and the Broncos? I mentioned that the Chiefs seem like they're going to rest a bunch of guys. Broncos obviously trying to win a football game here, playoffs, the whole thing. So 2 teams on the surface going in completely opposite directions, it appears, this game. Is there anything, does this mean stay away from Chiefs and all in on Broncos? I think a lot of people say, they're resting their players. And as I mentioned earlier in the show today, you can only rest so many players. It's not like they're resting all 11 defensive players. Like Chris Jones is probably not going to play because he's hurt, but Chiefs aren't going to roll over here in this game. Some keys here, some likes, some dislikes. What do you think in this game between the Chiefs and the Broncos?
Yeah, pardon me. Broncos are win and in for the number 7 seed in the AFC. So it's as simple as that. They can also get into the playoffs if they lose, if the Bengals lose, and if the Dolphins lose. So they're going to go all out here against the Carson Wentz-led Chiefs. Yep. Should be. I think it's probably going to be a blowout. I agree with you where they just simply cannot rest. Like they don't have 90-man rosters. They can't just do like a full swap of you can in like football games on like Madden or NCAA. Like you can't do
Right.
those like the full swap. I still think it's a good spot for Denver in terms of them being able to put up points, and they actually have the motivation. Chiefs really just don't. I like sticking with the heavy hitters. Sutton, he is close to getting a 500K incentive. He just needs, I think, 80 some yards receiving. He has, he's really close to it. So he's the one player I would really want to focus on. And then the run game's just been kind of really tough all season. Chiefs' run defense has been elite all year. So in my eyes, this is probably going to be a Bo Nix passing game where Marvin Mims. Well,
yeah, Marvin Mims, is he? I mean, everyone in the DFS is going Marvin Mims this week, right? His ownership's going to be huge.
Probably, yeah. People love to chase. And again, the Chiefs are probably going to be sitting some of their guys in the secondary. They haven't been great in the back end pass wise. So if they're playing backups, pretty good matchup here for Nix, Mims, and Sutton.
Tyler, what about the Dolphins here? Like I said earlier in the show, it doesn't sound like Tua Tagovailoa is going to play. I guess they're holding the door open, but it doesn't sound like he's going to play. Tyler Huntley was fine last week. He actually played pretty well for who Tyler Huntley is. There's limitations, but he was effective last week. We mentioned earlier in the show that Jaylen Waddle, maybe he gives it a go with complaint to that knee injury. What about the Dolphins on offense? All of that and the fact that, really, Devon Achane is living off 6-7 catches a week. And we saw him exposed in the fantasy sense last week because he didn't get those 6 or 7 catches. This Dolphins team can't run the football. They haven't run the football for the second half of the season. Like you run for 40 yards and you're leading this team in rushing yards. Where are we at with Devon Achane here? Because he's the big name guy, I think, that people are looking at, and they're not sure in week 18.
Yeah. In terms of like what's on the line here, the Dolphins can get the number 7 seed with a win and a Broncos loss. These two games are being played at the same time, so there'll be a little bit of scoreboard watching there. But as far as the matchup, they play the Jets, who are a run funnel. I envision this being a spot where they try to run the ball. I agree with you. They've had some issues there. Offensive line injuries have piled up for the Jets, or for the Dolphins, pardon me. And the lack of Tua, I think, is going to probably bring a safety down into the box. Not going to be a great matchup in my eyes for them. I mean, you're forced playing Achane if you're playing any Week 18 matchups or anything like that. Mm-hmm. I probably wouldn't go out of my way to make him a must start in DFS if Huntley's playing, just because we haven't seen that same upside. And when I look at like the splits of games where Achane played with Tua and without Tua, it was like 7+ targets per game, like 6 catches per game.
Yep. Insane
receiving production. It's just not the same unless you have a quarterback that really wants to make that a priority as part of the passing attack. So I think we can reasonably downgrade expectations for them. I'm also like, I feel like the Dolphins just don't really have a chance with Snoop. Like maybe it's me, maybe it's just a sour taste of too many DFS and preseason DFS plays with Huntley. I just don't see it. I feel like this is a team that's waving the white flag, and I'd be ticked if I were a Dolphins fan for seeing Tua sit out these last 2 matchups. Hopefully he plays. Hopefully he makes this a non-discussion. But at this point, I'd be a little mad if I were a Miami fan when you had the chance of making the postseason.
Yeah, and again, we're not the players, we're not in the locker room, we're not doctors, but it's, your franchise quarterback's not going to play with a season on the line. But you better be hurt. So I don't know. Maybe we'll get some more information on that. Question from schematically for you, Tyler. If you look at the Dolphins, I mean, a lot of the Dolphins offense is running guys east-west and Tua anticipating, dropping a ball in a spot, letting the guys do things after the catch. Offense hasn't really worked this year for a variety of reasons. Offensive line, injuries, et cetera, et cetera. This offense throws like a third of their passes within like 2 yards of the line of scrimmage. Like everything is a screen or a dump off. Everything. Devon Achane's average depth of target is minus. Can you win consistently doing that? Or is 9-8 kind of what you're going to get if your offense is so much underneath and you don't ever really go over the top?
I think you can win that way if you have good blocking wide receivers, if you have a healthy offensive line. Neither of those things really neither of those boxes are checked with Miami. Yeah, we may be seeing a ceiling in terms of what we can get out of the Mike McDaniel offense. Maybe he needs to do a little bit of a self-reflection getaway this offseason and do some revamping there, especially in the offensive line. I mean, if they can get this line healthy and ready for next year, it stings to have wasted a prime season of Tyreek. He's getting just another year older, above that age 30 cliff. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of weapons here. We saw the emergence of Jonnu, which really helped, I think, in terms of provide another weapon and not just rely on the outside wide receiver screens. We saw some stuff going over the middle, which finally helped. Yeah, I feel like there's like a cap to what we're seeing here in terms of this iteration of the Mike McDaniel offense.
Speaking of pass catchers, we'll go to the chat room. Henry has a question about this week, Tyler, and some wide receivers. Needs two of them. London, who's going to play. Are you nervous? You're okay. Tyler's taking a deep breath. The
Sorry, guys.
Falcons are going to try to win a football game here. The Drake London is, on the cusp of 100 catches, all this kind of stuff. Adam Thielen had a couple of touchdowns last week. He's looked really good the last handful of weeks. DJ Moore catches 6 passes every week. Doesn't necessarily do a ton, but catches 6 passes every week. And then Jawan Jennings, I was talking about it earlier. It's unclear at this point in time if Pearsall plays, if Deebo Samuel plays, if George Kittle plays, and Romeo Doubs is the quarterback. Not Romeo Doubs, excuse me, Joshua Dobbs.
Yes.
I'm getting my Dobbs confused. What are you thinking here? I mean, I think London's got to be in there, and for me, it's then one of the other three. But what say you, Tyler?
I agree. London, great play. The Falcons are playing for the NFC South. They play against the Bucks. I'm playing the same time as the Bucks. They need a win and for the Bucks to lose. So Atlanta's going to go all out. London's seen some great volume ever since the switch to Penix under center. Really like him as the first click you're making here. London for sure. Carolina Panthers very, very bad in pass defense. I don't need to go into that any more than just saying that, period. Thielen, I have a bit of a hang up with because he's older. Do they try to get younger guys involved here in the final game of the season? Maybe we see a bit more Coker and Leggett. I feel like that's a legitimate concern. Okay. DJ Moore is also getting paid a boatload of money. Does he go out there in a meaningless game against the Packers? I kind of want to lean on DJ Moore just because of the volume we've been seeing with him. Mm-hmm. He's been getting a lot of designed looks as well. Packers are they just shut down Jair Alexander for the rest of the season. I would probably go DJ Moore over Thielen. I also think that there's some more upside with Moore in terms of the yak skill set. I do question the pace of play for that matchup, though. That's the only hang up I have. But I mean, beggars can't be choosers week 18. I'm sorry, guys. Condolences to those that are still playing in week 18 leagues.
No Jawan Jennings? He's out?
I agree with what you said. I think those are valid concerns, and I think we have to put that in the question mark bucket as of today, Thursday. We just don't have enough information.
Okay. Henry's also got another question about the tight end position. Mr. I score a touchdown every week. Mr. I'm not the second tight end on my team. Mr. Everyone blew it who ran and got my teammate after week 1 who said he was going to be the elite star at the tight end position this year. Mark Andrews or Pat Freiermuth? I'm going Andrews. He does score a touchdown every week. The Ravens do have something to play for here. If they lose the game, they could lose the division. I'm going Mark Andrews over Pat Freiermuth.
Yep, I agree. I think Ravens go all out for this matchup. They're the first game of the week. I think they kicked the Browns' butt and put up a lot of points. And when you put up a lot of points on the Ravens, you're going to see a lot of touchdowns for the tight ends. So give me Mark Andrews. I'm with you.
Angelo's talked about grabbing Olamide Zacchaeus just in case McLaurin doesn't play or he's limited. Zacchaeus is so weird because really nothing all season long. And I know Brown was injured here recently. And all of a sudden, the last 2 weeks, statistically, OZ is the number 1 receiver on this Commanders team. What do you think here with this team? Because, again, they could change playoff seeding. Can the Commanders? They're in the playoffs. They could change seeding. I made the point earlier that, I believe McLaurin plays. I don't think they want to go into the playoffs with Terry McLaurin catching 1 ball for 5 yards. I don't think that's a good vibe, if you will. Your thoughts on the Commanders' passing attack this week and Olamide Zacchaeus in particular?
Yeah, for seeding purposes, the Commanders will still be playing in this matchup. We got the quote from Dan Quinn where he said the starters will be playing. Noah Brown on IR, like you referenced. Diami Brown banged up. Ertz banged up. McLaurin banged up. I think it's just a fine spot for him. He's been kind of like in that wide receiver 4 flex in terms of comfortability start-sit wise, but the stat lines over the last few weeks, 5 for 70 and 2, 8 for 85 and 1. can't ask for much more out of that, out of a flex player. I think he's a great play.
Daniel's got a question about Sauce Gardner, and you do a lot of the matchup stuff and looking at the wide receivers in the backfield. Sauce Gardner that good? Every time I look, there's a penalty. He's grabbing, he's holding, he's tugging, he's pulling. Even plays there's not penalties. He's grabbing, he's tugging, he's pulling. Is he that good? Is he someone? I know everyone. Oh, last year. Is he really that big of a thing? Like, does it matter that much to an offense if he's out there on the football field?
I do not believe so. Not only is he not performing well, he's also been banged up for a good chunk of the season, and this guy doesn't shadow. He just sticks to his side. He's easy to avoid. As far as a boost to Waddle, it's probably negated by the Huntley play. Like, you know what I mean? Any kind of upside you would get here in terms of matchup, probably downgraded. I will say that in games where Gardner and the other guy on the other side, DJ Reed, missed over the last few weeks, we saw the Dolphins go off against them. We saw Brian Thomas Jr. go off against them. So there is some upside here. Like, this team does play a lot of man on the outside where they'll stick with their guys, but they don't cross sides of the field. They stick to their side. They don't shadow. I like Waddle and Tyreek as much as you can with Huntley. There's a limit to the excitement.
Well, there it is. To follow up, Sean's asking the question about Huntley and Tyreek. Because what did Tyreek have? 9 catches last week. He was the passing game last week, and that's what we were used to seeing from Tyreek Hill. But for what we haven't seen from the majority of this season from Tyreek Hill. If it is Huntley, is it just more of the same here? Is it? And if it's Tua Tagovailoa, is it more of the same? I mean, they got to win a football game. I think you got to get the ball to Tyreek for better or worse.
We say that all the time. And then there are halves where he doesn't get a single target, and it's just infuriating. I wanted to put this guy as my 5% owned play last week, but I think he just narrowly missed the ownership threshold. Ended up having a really good day, though. So he was a good DFS play. But as far as going back to the well, again, I think he's fine. I just think that there's a limit to how excited you should be with Huntley under center. He's not Tua. He's not pushing the ball down the field consistently. There are some limitations for sure.
Tyler Beaker of FantasyGuru.com. He joins us every Thursday at about 12:30 Eastern Standard Time here on the show. As you heard earlier, we started selling all the products, offering all the products over at FantasyGuru.com. Click the subscribe tab in the top right corner. You can get seasonal, DFS, and wagering all together. We'll just throw it in there, let you see what we got. Look behind the curtain, if you will. Send a note to support@FantasyGuru.com. Support@FantasyGuru.com. Tyler's, again, here every Thursday. He mentioned earlier in the show, tomorrow night, 7 o'clock Eastern for the live stream tomorrow, Tyler?
That's correct. 7 o'clock Eastern. Yep.
7 o'clock Eastern with Armando Marsal, so we'll be doing that. He'll be placing bets over the weekend. He'll have his matchup, a game script article coming out on the weekend, as he mentioned. No rest for the weary. My article went up this morning. We're all still doing the normal thing. So if you're interested, hit us up over at fantasyguru.com. We always give you a chance, and I don't know if you've got one. I kind of put you on the spot. We always give you a chance to have a bet on Thursday Night Football, Tyler, before we let you run. Did you have one to share today with the folks for the week? Because we don't have Thursday Night Football. If you don't, that's fine. I'm throwing it at you late. I know you have bets. I've seen them in Discord. But do you have something to share today? Or are we going to tell people, hey, go sign up for fantasyguru.com?
I'll share one. Why not?
Okay.
I just posted this morning. I like this play quite a bit. It's Cortland Sutton over 64.5 receiving yards. I mentioned the 500K milestone. He's 82 yards away from that. And this team, again, they're a win and in situation. They're at home against the Chiefs, who are going to be playing backups. Weather doesn't look like it's going to be a factor in Denver. I think it's a good spot for Sutton to get going. We saw Mims with the explosive plays last week. I think we see the pendulum swing back in Sutton's direction, and he hits the over on 65 receiving yards here in Week 18.
He is Tyler Beaker of fantasyguru.com. Tyler, thanks again for joining us today. We'll have you on next week as well. I'm not really sure what we'll talk about directly. I'm sure we'll talk about some of the matchups because obviously we'll be into the fantasy playoffs. Maybe we'll kick the tires a little bit on some of your off-season thoughts. Maybe we'll just let you riff. We'll say, go, Tyler, and you can talk for 4 minutes. Just be like me and ramble on. You never know. We'll figure something out, but it'll be fun and exciting. Thanks for joining us today. Happy New Year. Did you have a festive night, or did you just shut it down and go easy?
Low-key one here, which is nice. Next year we'll do a bigger party thing. But yeah, low-key one. How about you?
Same thing, low-key. I had one drink, made it to 12:15, 12:30, went to bed. That's kind of it. I don't know. It was interesting. I I was surprised to see Carrie Underwood singing in Times Square. I don't know why. Maybe that's me. I thought usually like they had like TLC there, which, okay, that makes sense. Like they seem to have the old acts from 15, 20 years ago. But Carrie Underwood was out there rocking it. So I don't know. I guess it was only 45 degrees, so it wasn't freezing ass like it can be there too. So I guess that was a positive. And by the way, why does Planet Fitness advertise all over the place? It's 2 years in a row on ABC. Planet Fitness has been the sponsor of New Year's Eve. Is there? I don't even know if there's a Planet Fitness within like 50 miles of where I live. Do you have any near you?
Oh yeah, I've got one a tenth of a mile from where I live.
Oh, wow. Okay, well there you go. Are you going to go sign up because you saw it on Dick Clark's?
I already have signed up. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
They have a pool?
But yeah, they're doing it for the New Year's resolutions. That's what it's for.
I know, I get it, but
okay.
Yeah. He's Tyler Beaker on Ray Flowers. Tyler, thanks for your time today. Appreciate it. We'll talk to you next week.
All right, sounds good. Thanks for having me, Ray.
You got it. So everyone, check out fantasyguru.com. Click that subscribe tab in the top right corner. Send us a note, support@fantasyguru.com. I'll be back on the show tomorrow with Russell Clay. We'll open up baseball card pack. We'll talk football. We'll look at week 18. We'll look in the future. We'll have a lot of fun here on the show as we try to do every day. For Tyler Beaker, I am Ray Flowers. This has been Fantasy Sports Daily, powered by fantasyguru.com.